What's up, everybody? Bicoastal MMA here. Today, I'm doing a video on my picks for the main card of UFC Fight Night, Allen versus Craig. If you haven't already, I ask that you please subscribe, like the video, and share it wherever you can. Let's get on with it. We're gonna start off at the first fight for the main card. I think there's gonna be a little bit of a change up in the opponent that Euros Medic is having. There's some at the time that I'm recording this, there's some rumors that Johnny Parsons is out, and it's going to be allegedly Maitebek Oralbay. Oralbay. Not sure what the correct pronunciation is on that, but he is coming from the LFA. He is coming off of a knockout win, I think in October. Yeah, October. So not too far out from that fight. Maybe he's been able to stay in shape, close to his competition shape. Maybe he hasn't gotten too crazy. I just don't like the odds for fighters, especially when they're not even in the UFC and they're getting pulled from another league or another promotion. Not having that experience against some UFC competition. Because I definitely do think that the UFC is just on another level when we talk about the other promotions. Yes, the top of other promotions, some of these guys, they have the talent to be able to come in and perform well. But with this one, Medic, he had a few fights in the lightweight division, some good competition, some good names. And in his welterweight debut, he had a fun, exciting fight that he ended up winning by spinning elbow, where he knocked out Matthew Semmelsberger. But you see, like right here, Jalen Turner, which he lost to. I think some of these names right here are just going to be the difference in this one. He's been looking good, like I said, in his last fight. He looked really good. He went through some adversity. He got dropped in the first round, came back, got the knockout in the third round. I think this fight is going to be a fun and entertaining fight. And I see Euros Medic getting a KO or TKO finish to get the win. I just think, for me personally, I wouldn't want to go against somebody that's coming off of a full training camp when their opponent is coming in last minute the week of to replace the previous opponent, and he doesn't have any UFC experience fighting fighters at the UFC level. So for me, I'm going with Euros Medic to get the win by KO or TKO. On to the next one. We got a women's strawweight bout with number 9 ranked Luana Pinheiro versus number 10 ranked Amanda Ribas. Ribas is coming back down to strawweight after having a couple fights at featherweight. She looked really good when she fought Chukagian went to a really close decision. And if she would have won that fight, probably would have been next up for a title fight. Her last one, she got knocked out by Macy Barber. So there is a little bit of a worry. Maybe, her chin. She has had a little bit of some sus moments with it in the past. But I don't see Luana Pinheiro being somebody that's going to test that. And to me, I see that being the only way in which she can win this fight because, quite frankly, I think Amanda Ribas is better in the striking, in the wrestling slash grappling. She's coming in having the reach advantage. And I still don't really know how good Luana Pinheiro is. I know that she won that fight against Michelle Watterson, but I don't think she actually really won it. Now, going to the judges' scorecard, you always run that risk, and judges will be judges, you know. But I do think that Amanda Ribas, just looking at tape on both of these women, I think she's just a little bit better everywhere. And I think she's going to be able to edge out a decision win in this one. So I'm going with Amanda Ribas to win. I would say by a unanimous decision. On to the next fight, we got at bantamweight. We got two fighters that are new to the UFC. Peyton Talbot is making his UFC debut, and Nick Aguirre has one fight in the UFC that he lost. Looking at what I could see from the fight in Contender Series with Talbot, he looks to have really good striking. I think Aguirre, kind of see him as one of these fighters that he's in the UFC, but I don't really know if he has that talent that's going to give Talbot issues. I think Talbot's going to have his way in the stand up. And I think he's really going to expose Aguirre. And I kind of see this as kind of being like a layup or like an alley oop, setting up Talbot for a dunk. They're alley ooping him, giving him somebody that I think they know and they feel is going to be a good opponent for Talbot to showcase his skills, to get a win, start building his name. Maybe he gets a highlight reel finish. Who knows? We'll have to see. But I do see Peyton Talbot outclassing Nick Aguirre just off of seeing the little bit that I could see from their previous fights. I would say Peyton Talbot gets the win by second round KO, TKO. Next fight, we got at lightweight. We got Chase Hooper versus Jordan Levitt. Now, both of these guys have now been in the UFC for a few years now. Chase Hooper being in the UFC about a year longer, I think. But when you look at their previous fights, even though Chase Hooper's been in the UFC a little bit longer, I think Jordan Levitt has been able to progress more and is the more complete fighter, or at least the better fighter of the two. I think Levitt isn't going to be afraid if this gets taken to the ground. I think he might even welcome it. His grappling has been getting really good. He did have that submission setback against Paddy Pimblett, but looking back at it, I think a little bit of that might have been him having a bit of nerves with the crowd that he got exposed to in that fight. Um, a Paddy Pimblett UK stadium, I just think was a little bit much for where he was at in his career. And he got caught with the rear naked choke. But I do think he will be able to equalize the wrestling grappling department with Chase Hooper. And I think he has the cleaner and better stand up and striking. I see Jordan Levitt honestly piecing up Chase Hooper on the feet if he keeps it there. But like I said, I don't think he'll shy away from having some ground exchanges either with Chase Hooper. So I think Jordan Levitt all around is the better fighter. And I can honestly see him getting a KO TKO finish on Chase Hooper. So I'm gonna go with Jordan Levitt to get the win by KO TKO. Next fight, we got the co-main event at welterweight. Michael Morales versus Jake Matthews. Morales is on a 3-fight win streak. Jake Matthews, I think he won his last fight, but the fight before it, I think, was against Semmelsberger, and he lost. Jake Matthews does a lot of the basics really good. I just think that with Michael Morales having a 6-inch reach advantage, I think he's going to be able to keep that distance, apply the jab, set the tone and the pace of this fight. Might even be able to drop Matthews a couple times. I think Matthews will be able to survive. And I think that this fight goes to a decision where Michael Morales will win it. Maybe a split decision. I think it will be a close fight. I think Jake Matthews will make it a close fight. I just don't think he's going to be able to bring enough to the table that really has Michael Morales in any kind of trouble. I think with the reach advantage, Morales is going to be able to control this fight and the pace that it goes in and get the decision win, get a split decision win. So Michael Morales to win, split decision. And for the main event, we have at middleweight, we have number 10 ranked Brendan Allen versus number 13 ranked Paul Craig. Now, on this one, I do think that this is going to be a competitive fight. And, when it comes to the most complete fighter, I think Brendan Allen's going to have a little bit in the edge. I think his striking is a little bit uh, more complete and advanced. The only thing is that I am a little bit hesitant to go against Paul Craig. Paul Craig was able to beat a lot of big names in the light heavyweight division. One of them being Jamal Hill, who was able to capture the gold at light heavyweight. And on top of that list, he has a few other guys that are pretty solid names, like Ankalaev. And Ankalaev is also ranked in, I think, the top 3 of the light heavyweight division. He beat Krylov also, which I think Krylov is maybe in the top 5 of the light heavyweight division. So for me, this is a pretty hard pick to pick one or the other. I just, based off of some of the names that Paul Craig has beat at light heavyweight, for some reason, there's just a calling for me to go with Paul Craig. And so I think I'm going to go against Brendan Allen in this one. It might be something that I end up being wrong on, but I just can't go against Paul Craig on this one. So I'm going to go with Paul Craig getting the win by submission. And that'll do it for the picks of the main card of UFC Fight Night, Brendan Allen versus Paul Craig. I have a couple topics of news that I think are worthy going over, sharing my opinion on them, and just let me know what you guys think about my opinions on these topics. I'd like to hear your feedback. The first topic that I'm going to start with is Chael Sonnen did a video where he talks about how he thinks, and I'll just show a little clip of it, but where he thinks Alex Pereira is or should be nominated Fighter of the Year. So
Alex Pereira is your fighter of the year. I hope that he wins that award, and I don't know that he will. The World MMA Awards started taking ballots a meaningful amount of time ago. They're probably about to close. I can't, in good conscience, tell you that I remember Pereira being nominated. I'm not positive he's nominated for an award that he absolutely should win, and I'm coming to you guys hoping you elevate him and he could win it.
I'm going to stop it there. I would have to honestly agree with Chael on this one. I think he's pretty spot on with it. I'm going to do what he asked. I'm going to put my opinion out there and also call for this to be the case. Within the calendar year, Pereira has been able to win 2 belts. Was able to capture and win the middleweight title against Adesanya, who went on for a tear of title defenses, seemed to be untouchable. He came in, won the belt. He ended up losing the rematch where he got caught and got put out. He was looking pretty good in that fight. Maybe if he would have been a little bit not so aggressive, maybe there would have been a different outcome. Maybe he would have been able to retain that title. Regardless, he ended up training the guy that ended up going and beating Adesanya, which I think that's even something that you can mention and put into this for that consideration of him being Fighter of the Year. Coach the guy that's now the champion that was able to beat Adesanya after that. Then he moves up in weight, goes to light heavyweight, beats Jan Blachowicz, who was a former light heavyweight champion. Then had this title fight against Yuri Prochazka and was able to get the TKO finish. And now, like I said, has 2 belts in the UFC. Was also able to do it as a kickboxer for Glory. But that doesn't have really much to do with being Fighter of the Year. I guess that would make more of a stance for him to be one of the greatest combat sports athletes out there, which is another topic that I think is worthy of talking about also too. But Chael is probably right. He probably is going to get overshadowed in this. Who knows? We'll see what happens as time goes on. But if he's not already being one of the standout candidates for being Fighter of the Year, it's probably going to get overlooked. But I think that this is a very solid point that Chael has made. I think that what Pereira was able to do in this last calendar year, I don't think very many people expected for this to happen to start. Was able to basically make his way through the middleweight rankings, got that title fight with Adesanya, beat him, and then we get to now where he came to the light heavyweight division, was able to fast track himself to the title fight, was able to headline Madison Square Garden again, which I think he did that twice in the calendar year also. Like who's the other person that we're putting over him? Like this is just crazy that he did all that in the last year. I don't think there's hasn't been anybody that's won two belts in the last year and that has headlined Madison Square Garden twice in the same calendar year. I don't know. To me, it just seems like it's an easy decision to say, yeah, Alex Pereira is fighter of the year. We'll see what ends up happening. You know how sometimes award ceremonies, shows can go. Not always does the person that's the most deserving of it win it. Maybe Ariel's award show that he does will give that praise, will give that recognition. But we'll just have to see. What do you guys think? Who do you think would be the better candidate for fighter of the year if it's not Alex Pereira? Because that's who I think. I think Alex Pereira is, in my opinion, the definite winner of it. Really, the only other maybe candidate I could see is maybe you throw in like a Tom Aspinall, which he hasn't. He won the interim title. Cool story. He was able to come back after his injury and make this push and being able to beat Pavlovich the way that he did. Um, Maybe you throw Makachev in there too. Could see Makachev being a potential candidate there, but to me, I think Pereira easily should be taking the award. But we'll move on to the next topic. The next topic I wanted to go over is Tony Ferguson has had a bit of controversy controversy going on this last week. He was training with David Goggins, and a lot of people had a lot to say. I've seen a lot of comments, not only just in this post, where people are telling him like, "Bro, please retire. Your cardio and heart ain't your issue, never was. Ages. Cardio has never been your issue. Properly weaponizing it has been. I'd love to see you chain wrestle this guy and not stop. He will get very tired and you won't. Drag him to deep waters." I think I seen Bisbing say something about it, that it's probably not the right move. And there's been a few other people that, have given their opinion that this is probably not the best move. I know that Goggins ended up doing a post to kind of explain afterwards and basically saying this had nothing really to do with this going towards the UFC fight in terms of like the actual fight plan and whatnot. This was Tony Ferguson maybe getting complacent, getting a little bit comfortable, and his mentality not being where it needed to be in these last fights that he's had, being on this losing streak. And according to Goggins, that dude is back. El Kukui is back. And I do think that that is something that can affect a fighter. We've kind of seen it with Connor, where you start to make money, you get some belts, and you maybe get a little bit complacent. And if Tony has been able to channel this inner version of himself that was the inner version of himself when he went on that 12 fight winning streak, I think this is going to be a scary dude for Patty Pimblett to fight. Now, time will tell. We'll have to wait until December for when the fight happens to see if, this paid off. I think that if Tony gets this win, I think that no one will have anything to say in regards to David Goggins being part of the formula of him being able to change himself and get the win. I think it'll get overshadowed. People had a lot to say about it leading up to the fight, but I think afterwards it'll be crickets. I think it's cool to see. Only Tony knows if, he was getting complacent and wasn't that animal that he was, wasn't that beast that he was, wasn't living up to the nickname at Okukui. But to me, to just see that he went and hired Goggins tells me that maybe he did feel that way. And then people also too talking about, oh, this is gonna drain you so much and yada yada yada. I think it was only for a week, if anything less than a week. They're already done with this training session that they had for the time being that they had it. Like I said, Goggins already did a post saying that your boy is back. I tried to break him, tried to send him basically towards retirement if it was time and if he no longer had that mental edge. But he said no. El Kukui is back. He's back. So I think this is gonna help Ferguson in this fight. I really do. I know a lot of people had a lot to say about this maybe being out of the norm or not being ethical or whatever. Like, again, I think Tony was dealing with some mental blockages ever since he lost that fight to Gaethje, and think Goggins was able to put him through the ringer and bring El Kukui back out. And I'm excited to see what happens in December. I hope that people give praise to this and give praise to Goggins whenever Ferguson does get the win. I hope that people aren't just leading up to it have a lot to say and then afterwards don't have nothing to say. But we'll see. What do you guys think about this? Do you think that this whole mental preparation can play a role into the fight? Do you think, like some of the other people, that this was a waste of time and maybe is going to be to the detriment of Tony? Let me know what you think. All right, we'll go on to the next topic. And we had Ariel and Tom Aspinall talking about the current state of the heavyweight division. Ariel is kind of calling for Aspinall to get a fight against either Stipe or John Jones. I think he's been calling more for it to be John Jones. I kind of see where they're coming from in this instance, or where both of them, but Ariel is coming from because I kind of think that when John Jones and Stipe Miocic fight, no matter who the winner is, I think that's both their last fights, to be quite frank. Maybe John Jones sticks around for another fight or two, but honestly, I think that's his last fight. He wants to go out with the bang on his last fight. What better way to do it than a big name like Stipe Miocic? Solidify and cement his legacy with being able to basically, after that fight, he'll be able to claim I was the best light heavyweight ever and the best heavyweight ever. Because Stipe, by many, is considered the GOAT of the heavyweight division. So that's what I see happening. So I can understand where they're coming from on this and what they're talking about. But I'll just play this little bit of a clip.
How do you think this whole thing plays out? How do you think this actually goes down?
Me personally, I think that Stipe and Jones is an absolutely amazing matchup. But in my opinion, that was an amazing matchup for this weekend, just gone, this past weekend. And I feel like the shine of that fight has kind of gone. I don't know how anybody else feels about that. I feel like now they need to make either me and John Jones or me and Stipe, because, like I say, what's kind of the point in the other stuff? Like, let's move forward. Let me fight one of the legends now, and let me move forward with my career, as opposed to doing this other stuff and waiting around. And like that fight was amazing.
And I agree with them. Like the whole waiting around, and what is he gonna do? He's gonna wait around for a whole year or more. A little bit tricky about what's going on in the heavyweight division. I do agree with their takes on a lot of this. At the same time, I do see though where the UFC and Dana and John Jones and Stipe, why they're wanting this fight to happen. I do think it is a big fight. The only thing that kind of sucks about it is Stipe's getting up there in age. He's going to be, I think, 42 by the time this fight happens. Maybe that's going to play to the benefit of John Jones, kind of age out Stipe a little bit more. But like I said, I can see this going. They do their fight, and then that's it. They leave, which kind of sucks because then it leaves Tom Aspinall high and dry. Where how he's saying like basically he should be fighting for the title next. He's got the momentum. He doesn't want to wait around. He feels like he's the best active heavyweight right now, and I think he's correct in that. Francis is out there boxing right now. John Jones is hurt. I think Aspinall beats Serial Gone, so I would agree. What do you guys think in all this? Aspinall and Ariel correct in their evaluation and what they think should happen? Like I said, I can totally see this panning out where Stipe, John Jones fight, and then they both retire. And then you kind of have this, well, that sucks. Aspinall should have just been crowned the undisputed heavyweight champ the whole time. We would have had more movement or more activity in the heavyweight division if we would have done that. But we'll see how everything plays out. We'll see if John Jones and Stipe are even able to make it to them trying to set up the fight again. We'll just have to wait and see how John heals and if Stipe is going to be ready to go at the time that they want to rebook that fight. Aspinall might just get left out to dry a little bit. At the end of the day, I'm sure with Dana and the UFC making that fight, they're gonna tell him, no, look, you're gonna wait, they're gonna fight, and then you'll get the winner if the winner's there. If not, we'll book you for the undisputed. You're young, you're only 30 years old, you have time to be able to sit around and wait. That's how I could see it kind of going, but again, we'll wait and see. So we'll go on to the next topic. Next topic being Aljamain Sterling, going over him getting some offers at the featherweight division.
Well, breaking news, I was offered cater. Amongst three others, two other guys were actually friends, so I said respectfully I would actually like to decline those. One of them was coming off of a loss. Cater was the highest ranking opponent out of all of them.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Wait.
Were you aware that he was about to break news?
But yeah, he's big, bro.
Yeah, the Gator is big. By the way, this is I want to really quickly.
So there you have it. Got offered Cater. Also got offered two other people, but I guess he's friendly with them, so he doesn't want to fight them, which you would think that Aljo would kind of learned a little bit from what happened with the whole situation at bantamweight with him and Marab, and how now both of them are not in the picture for the title. They now got skipped over by Cheeto Vera to fight Sean O'Malley. I would just think at that point, you kind of put some of that stuff aside. Like, that's kind of the game of competition no matter what. I know it's a little bit different with fighting, but you don't think a lot of these other professional athletes in other sports are friends with certain other players, whether it be football, basketball, soccer, whatever? You don't see them holding back. You still see football players having car collisions. You still see basketball players dunking on each other. See soccer players, going for tackles and stuff like that themselves. I don't know what you really call it for soccer. I'm not that big of a soccer watcher, but you get what I'm saying. There's that level of competition that's just going to be there, and you can't, oh, this is my friend. And the UFC is already shown to have a lot of displeasure with people doing things like that, at least in with Aljo and with Marab. So it's kind of crazy. I wonder who those two other guys were. He did say though that Cater is the highest ranked of the three. So I mean, I think that's a good fight to make. I think that's a good introductory fight for Aljo. I think even if you finish or win that fight in a dominant fashion, I know that he's the number seventh ranked guy, but just the way that the featherweight division is kind of going, and with it kind of getting cleaned out. If Topuria wins, then things change. But if Volkanovski defends the title, he's cleaned out that whole top of the division. So I think if Aljo were to fight Cater and was able to get a dominant win, get a dominant finish, I think he could be elevated into that title spot his next fight. I say take this fight. I think it's a fight that he can win. Cater is a bad dude. He's a scary. I can see it being a scary matchup for Aljo with the power he has, the skill of boxing that he has. But I do see there being holes that Aljo can take advantage of. I can totally see Aljo being able to take Cater's back or get some other kind of a positioning that puts him in a spot to get a submission win. Think it would be a little bit hard to see him get a KO or TKO finish in that fight. But if you can do something like what you did to Corey Sandhagen, to Calvin Kattar, like I said, if Volkanovski defends this title fight, and if you had a dominant win like that against Kattar, I could see that being the next matchup. And that's just a fast track to the title. And I think that's exactly what Aljo is kind of looking for. So to me, I think that this is a fight that he should take. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. But we'll move on to the final topic that I wanted to go over, and that is ex-UFC champ Francis Ngannou ranked by WBC after Tyson Fury loss. So WBC now has Francis ranked top 10. What is that going to do for him now? Obviously, first things first, his next fight is going to be against a ranked heavyweight boxer. Another big money fight for him. Being ranked top 10. If he gets this win in this fight, does that now put him back in the possibility of his next fight after that being for the title? I think so. If he's able to get a dominant win, something that really excites the people, I think so. Now that he's ranked, now he's able to fight for the title. Where before when he fought Fury, that was basically like an exhibition match. So this is I'm very excited for Francis. This is very exciting news. I would like to see him fight a one of these top ranked guys. I don't know what they're looking at doing. I know that there's kind of been some names floating around for him to fight, but Ngannou is starting to get a little bit older. I know with heavyweights, you know, they can fight a little bit into older age, but I just think right now Francis is in his prime and he needs to be having these fights in the next 2 years. Have whatever fight in his next fight, hopefully elevate him towards the title fight. And with that, I think, you know, this is showing the UFC that they kind of messed up. They kind of made a mistake. They'll probably never admit that, but Francis was able to go against all odds. He made it happen. Heck of a story this guy has. But good on him. It's crazy. Top 10 ranked heavyweight boxer by the WBC. Who would have thought? You know, he had a lot of doubters, and it seemed like for the most part, he was the only one that had this confidence in himself. He was the only one that believed in himself. I'm sure some of his coaches and his team and whatnot, but I just remember, you know, nobody thinking that he had a chance in all this, and it's flourished beautifully. So good on him. Hopefully he gets a good match for his next boxing match, gets a well-ranked guy, and can make another run for that title. That would just cap it all off if he was able to win a title as a professional boxer. But what do you guys think about all this? You think it's rightfully deserved? Number 10? I think he beat Tyson Fury in that fight, but either way, very close decision, if not. So we'll see what ends up happening in the future. I'm kind of curious if at this point, Ngannou even fights in the PFL. Like, is he just now going to become a boxer? You know what I mean? He can. He can do it. The fights are there now. He's ranked. Like, I say just do that. That's where the money's at. He already proven himself in MMA. Became undisputed UFC champion. So let me know what you guys think. That's gonna do it for me today. Gave you my picks, went over some news, and you'll hear from me in a couple of days. So I appreciate everybody that tuned in. You guys have a good rest of your week, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.